That was live. I was waiting for some technical problems there because where I was getting like technical problems. Dakota, are you there? No, I think he's froze. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with myself, Russ. Thank you very much for coming. We'll wait for my co-host to come back from beyond the veil.
Absolutely.
It's this solar storm with me having problems yesterday, and I tried to go live today, and the problems we've had. He's coming in the news, so I'll wait for him before I start. Oh, he's back again. But anyway, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've been really looking forward to meeting you again. Because the last time I met you was on Emerald Isles Paranormal Researchers with
Yes.
Jenny.
Yes.
Yes, and Jenny's got an absolutely amazing channel. She really has. And
Yes, she
she
does.
puts a lot of work. Yeah, she puts a lot of work in it. Where were you? Across it. How was the alien visit? You've been away for 6 months. We can't
Now it
hear you.
has no sound.
We'll blame the solar, whatever it is, the
We
problems
might
we've
as
got.
well. We got to use it while we can.
Yeah, we might as well just. So, Michelle, can you tell us a wee bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. I am a demonologist and lay exorcist. So people understand I just don't go running into houses, with a cross and say, demons be gone. I actually, I help in the process of all that. I am what you would call a psychic / trance medium. But I see things a little different. So a lot of people think soon as they hear that I am able to give them readings and love notes and stuff. And I'm not that person. So since a child, I see the dead at the time that they died and how. So I don't get that very angelic look or the beautiful light. I see them every once in a while, but I see them for what happened at that time. So to me, it's like seeing walking zombies, if you want to put it.
Oh,
it's terrifying. And as a child seeing this, you didn't know what was going on. And you always just kept thinking you're having nightmares. I had it pushed away for a long time, but when you start doing an awakening, you can't control it. I don't care what people say. It starts hitting you like a freight train. You can try to put all your intentions, all your blockers up, but nope, it doesn't. So I end up having to do my own journey to figure out what did all this mean? Why was I seeing this? Where do I fit in? And that's where studying demonology and different things came in, because to me, they were all demons at this point because I didn't know. So the more I was doing it at places and looking at things like, if you have attachments or you have things around you, I can see those. And if it's a really negative entity, they look like creatures to me. So it's really hard when I'm trying to explain it. It's like, let's say this guy was such a bad person in life that his true self is showing in the next life, right? And so when I'm trying to explain it to someone, like if I was talking to you, Chris and Dakota, and I'm like, oh, this guy behind you, well, he kind of looks like he's got this face like that. And then I would have to say, have you ever seen the movie Alien? That alien creature and that snarly stuff, and everybody's like, well, those are demons, but they're not all demons. And, so trying to explain. So after a while, started going on investigations and helping. And I noticed that these spirits just kept coming at me. They were either angry or sad, different things. And then that one moment, it was like, aha, I'm not here to speak for the living. I'm not here to make you feel better because you said hello to a past loved one. I'm actually here to literally speak for spirit.
Yeah.
So if it was a woman who was abused or a child who was beaten or died in the well or anything like that because a friend pushed them or whatever the case is, I noticed as I was starting to speak their truth, that's when they would start passing on and moving towards the light and weren't
Yeah.
around anymore. That's when I knew, now I found out who I am. And it's
Yeah.
been a really long time coming. I can tell you, there's been a lot of
I'm
detours.
I'm I'm gonna say, I mean, I'm gonna say I can imagine being like 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, and waking up and at the bottom of my bed, somebody with half their face missing because they were in a horrific accident.
Mhm.
And I suppose that's frightening for the kid, but really they don't really mean to be frightening. They're just there to,
No.
they're looking for help. They want to cross. They're stuck.
Yep. And as a
Mhm.
child, the time I grew up in Germany, and
Mm.
trying to tell my Oma and them about this, they're like, "No, no, 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 no." You know what I mean? They're like, "You don't talk pills like that." And you're just like, "Zip," and you don't say nothing. So,
Yeah. Just saying to Emerald Isles Paranormal, Jenny. Hey, Jenny.
hi, Jenny.
I,
Mwah, darling. I
but
adore her.
I will say this, Jenny's had a very sad day today. It was her mum's funeral today, and Jenny is an amazing person. She really is. And that's how I got to meet you, Michelle, through one of
Yes.
our lives. Um, but I'm going to say, I mean, about the alien looking creatures, the what you call it, the demonic creatures, right?
Yeah, I guess yeah.
I see this is, see, I know some people that are into the exorcism and stuff like that, and some of them have told me about twisted souls, like humans that have became, they're like actually worse than demons because they've got kind of more power. Have you ever encountered any of them?
Yeah. So when you're working, and that's why it's a very fine line, and you have to be really careful, especially when you're working like with a church or something, about what is a demon, what isn't a demon. Because
Mhm.
when your soul was very dark in life, it's going to stay dark in the afterlife. And so
Yes.
what it does is it gives you your true, it took your mask off. This is the true you. This is what you look like. Whether it's got features that could be, very demonic looking and stuff,
Mhm.
but it's showing what you were really in life. And so you become this nasty, I call them like the black blob creatures.
Mhm.
And, of
Mhm.
course, they still try to be mean in the afterlife, puffing up, trying to make themselves
Yeah.
bigger than what they ever were. A lot of them can get physical, and they will. But at
Mhm.
the same time, if you have your true intentions of what you're there for and what you're doing, yes, I will tell you, I am scared to death. I just don't walk in, with armor like, in Mortal Kombat. But, right?
Yeah. You just about did
Um,
it.
but you gotta have that kind of armor on you when you're walking in, because
Yeah.
soon as it knows one little weakness from you, it's
Oh
going
yeah.
straight for that. And when it hits it, it is hard to come right back out. It really is. So,
Mhm.
Dakota, would you like to ask some questions? Because I know Dakota's actually had experience with this type of stuff.
Yeah, and most people never speak to me again if I go to share those stories.
You can
Not
share
that I
them the night,
blame
you'll
them.
be fine.
So, Michelle, with obviously with the last few years, all this insanity that's coming out, have you noticed that more people seem to be awakening to those side, that side of the paranormal? I can't talk today. My God.
It's the solar, blame it on the solar
Buddy,
storm.
buddy.
Blame it on that.
so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
right.
really agree with you. So here's the thing. And it's crazy you say that, because I just had a conversation with some friends. Everybody's going through awakenings of some sort. Everybody's
Mhm.
always noticed they've been kind of a sensitive or empathic, but they've noticed that it's like increased. It's not like I'm just empathic, but I'm empathic now. And sometimes I'm seeing visions, whether it's in dream state or meditation. But what we're missing, there's a point. It was always stated, when we talk of a second coming, or, and things like that, It is bringing all those people together. We're supposed to be as one. But because of social media, of TV and all that, everybody's 5 minutes of fame. So what is supposed to be built and we're supposed to help go to this next phase, people are forgetting it. And so, you're finding out certain people are meeting certain people in the most oddest ways of like, God, I met you here and, we're both thousands of miles away. What's going on? But there's a reason we all meet. Does it mean it'll be right away? Maybe not, because everybody has a place, just like on a chessboard. We all have a place, and we all are going to have to move because we all are going to have to do something together. And then until we get all these 5 minutes of famers out of the way, we'll know exactly who that group is. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's something I really strongly believe, because there are certain people come together to help each other, because there's always that one missing link. I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
I would need to have a different type of medium here, or I might need to have someone doing something different here. And I really believe you hear the power of 3, but I think it's more the power of more than just 3.
I do believe everything's planned. See, before you come here, I do believe this is just like a big TV show.
Right?
I do believe right now somewhere lost loved ones, people that I once knew hundreds and hundreds of years ago are probably watching us right now.
Yeah.
I do believe that before we came here, we all met up and we're right, you'll be coming on my show. Me and Dakota will start a show together. But I do believe everything's been arranged, even for the birth to the death. I've even picked my death, but obviously I don't know it yet. So
Absolutely.
everything's planned, and I do think people come in at the certain moment to help with certain situations. Like say an extreme haunting, for instance, if there's a house that had like a demonic attachment, and the person goes there, and then somebody appears and they seem to help you, but you're like, oh, that's spooky. How did that person know that? Because I think it's all planned out.
And I believe so. And I think it's all been played once before. Because if you notice, a lot of people, there's more and more people coming around that have that deja vu feeling. And it's like, it's becoming more and more. It's not, before it was like every once in a while somebody would get it. Now it almost seems like people are saying, every other day they're getting a deja vu. And it's like, okay, so are the dimensions opening up? Are we crisscrossing with what we've already done, or are we talking about, fractured souls and things are happening, So there's something in play right now. I strongly feel that.
I do believe with like people out there like yourself and like Dakota and other kind of like people that have got the gifts. I do believe you can like basically tell the future. There's been a few things that's happened to me that I just can't explain. There's been things I've seen something happen, I've dreamt about it, and then a couple of days later it's happened, the exact same thing. And you wonder to yourself, was that deja vu, or did you just see into the future slightly? I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, or it could be a reoccurrence. It could be something you've already done and you're doing it, you know what I mean? And it goes in that time warp.
Yeah. Dakota?
So kind of going back to how the spirits are going to manifest with you. Say you have a subject where they were not necessarily evil, but they were clearly very mentally ill in some manner. Those spirits go to manifest for you.
Those actually manifest more. A lot of them manifest more in a childlike version for me. So depending on what that stability was, because there's a lot of times, I'm like, yeah, you're acting like that childlike, you get that feeling, but I'm like, who are you really? And then you can see it where it starts changing a form of that person. And I think it goes with what type of mental illness was there. We talk a lot about depression and things like that. So, they're like, a lot of people say they see apparitions that are just crying. Well, when I see those, even if they have taken their own life, I see them almost back in that childlike, needing to be held.
Yeah.
So that piece is missing. So that's how I kind of see them. And that's why when people say, well, those types of people go straight to hell. No, 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 and no. Because we're not there. We do not know who or what they talked to prior of going. But here's the thing, a lot of them are stuck because in life they didn't feel like they were worth enough. In the afterlife, they're feeling the same way. So then now they're back into that childlike of trying to find that void that was missing somewhere in that pattern before they can be moved on. And they are the hardest spirits to move on.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, suicide's a terrible, terrible thing. I mean,
Absolutely.
I've known a lot of mediums over the years, and they've told me you're here to learn, and if and guys up in the top corner, you can see a thing you can scan with your phone. If you're feeling suicidal, whatever, please scan that, and it'll help you out. Look, I've met a lot of mediums over the years, and some of them are amazing. Some of them have told me, like, you commit suicide, you're going to have to try again. You're going to have to come back again. And some of them are stuck there, like you say, Michelle. Some of them they don't even know that they're dead. They're maybe like replaying standing on that building over and over and over, or like standing in front of the train over and over and over. What do you do when you come across somebody like that, like somebody that's stuck? How do you help them out of that like repeating loop?
Well, that's when you're trying to see, is it, a residual that is intelligent? And you
Yeah.
have to you see it because you do have a lot of residuals that, like you said, could be
Mhm.
standing and just redoing it over and over,
Mhm.
but there's no way of that communication. And those are really hard. I mean, there's just nothing you can do, or let's put it, I can't do because I have not been able to figure it out. But when you find there's some intelligence there, it is actually working small process. Did you know that when some folks actually take their life, there is almost 75% of those people last minute change their mind, but it's too
Yes.
late?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
so when you're getting with that, that's like those are the ones you're seeing stuck. And those are
Yeah.
the ones that you're trying to help, and those you can normally help. Again, it takes a little bit longer because of them still being in a confusion of, did this happen? Did this not happen? What happened? Kind of state. And then you think of the people who are still alive. Some are angry, some are sad, but a lot of times people are more angry. And so that spirit already then feels guilt in the afterlife because look how I
Yeah.
made everyone feel. So you have to break down in those barriers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard stories about. I know I'm lucky to know police officers and stuff like that, and how they've told me they've been to a lot of like suicides, and how they've been to some where people have went to like throw themselves off a building, changed
Oh,
their mind, but then fell. They've
yep,
actually and you can see them in the video. You can see them holding on because they've changed their mind, but they just fall after that.
yep.
And then it makes you wonder that poor soul's probably wondering about, thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Looking for someone to help them.
Yep. And you think about that. So then,
Mm-hmm.
like, think of spirits that are from the early 1700s, 1600s, 1800s. Some of the deaths back in those years
Yeah.
were so horrific.
Mhm.
Because you think about it, there was definitely probably cancer out there. You had
Yes.
scarlet fever, you had all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of diseases that there was nothing for them. So those tragic deaths actually form that same type of spirit in the afterlife too, you know.
Yeah.
So, you kind of look at the two together of, and when you're think about what they're seeing from us. They see a light, but they're confused of, who are you talking to me? I know maybe you can help me, but they don't
Mhm.
understand that, I was in childbirth and I died. I never got to see my child. So you have a weeping mother waiting for her child in a place that should not be her home anymore. She should move on to be able to see her child. And so that's when, when you're doing and you have abilities, when you're trying to work with spirit, people don't understand. It's not just like me talking to you. You got to remember they're stuck in their time when they've passed, that's their time. That's it. So
Yeah.
for me as a stranger telling her your child is waiting for you, go to the light and stuff, they're still freaked out like, okay, why are you doing this? Where's my child? And that's why I said I don't talk for the living. And it's harder because when I do talk for the dead and try to tell their story, people are looking at me like, have you been smoking crack? So.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
it's like, I mean, it must be horrendous for a soul to be lost. I mean, I hope I never end up lost, but obviously with my knowledge of the afterlife, I'll be looking for the light. That's my mission, to go to the light. But there will be people out there that didn't believe in religion and they didn't believe in the afterlife, and they'll see the light and they'll be kind of afraid of it, because then they'll think, oh, because I done this bad thing, the Bible says I'll be burning in the pits of hell for eternity. Let's face it, the Bible does say that you'll be burning in the pits of hell.
It does.
Yeah, and they'll be like, I
But
could just
here's
hang
the
about this
thing.
hospital. Yeah.
People have to remember the Bible was written by man.
Yes.
It was used to scare people into religion, to keep the masses controlled. So no matter what your faith base is, as long as you hold on to that, then your light will be something different. Not everybody has. When you listen to people who have near-death experiences, they all say they start seeing the white light, but then the light changes colors and does different things for everybody who has a near-death experience. So I believe everybody's light is different, because those lights will actually catch your spirit of feelings, smells, touches that you recognize, so you will follow it.
See, I find that interesting, because I'm lucky to know a few hospice people that work in hospice nurses. But I lost my mother about maybe 2.5 months ago to cancer. But it was quite interesting, actually, because there was a day before she died. The day before she died, a couple of days before she died, she says to me, she said, "Oh, they're all here," and I'm like, I'm looking around about, she's in her bed, and I'm like, nothing. But I can feel that this weird energy in the room.
Yes.
It's like I said to somebody about it. I think it was Lisa Fry, one of her friends. I says, the room felt like Piccadilly train station. It felt like a train station. It felt like there was people coming in everywhere. I think there was about 40 or 50 people. That's what it felt like. And then she said something to me, which I found extremely interesting. It wasn't just me, it was my uncle, her brother at the time. They're coming to take me to the pictures tonight.
Yep.
She passed away the next morning. And I find that interesting, because I've heard stories about that. So it makes you wonder, like how you said they take you to make you happy. So they maybe said, listen, you're in quite a bad way and you're in a lot of pain, but we're going to take you to the pictures. Would you like to come to the pictures? But really, they're taking them to the afterlife.
Because at that stage, your soul is already slowly leaving you.
Yes.
And so, we're just using that mind. So, like I said, the lights or the feelings are all different, because, like if you do see your brother or your mother or grandmother, you're not going to see them as the people who have passed, but you're going to be like you're reunited, and your brain will actually take you there. And that's when you see people start relaxing and closing their eyes, because now they're ready to go. And it becomes a peaceful thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've witnessed it with a few people, and I've had a few people telling me stories about how they've went into the hospital room, and the woman or the man's pointing into the corner saying, "Oh, my brother's here," and everybody's looking, but there's nothing there. And he's coming to take me tonight. And then that night, the cross, they die. And it makes you, we're all going to experience that. I know we're all going to experience. Dakota, me, you, Michelle, we're all going to
Absolutely.
get and experience that in the end. But I want to jump for this to the demonic kind of side. I mean,
Yeah.
what would you say was the worst case you've ever had?
Oh, you had to go there, huh?
I had to go
Well,
there. I couldn't help myself.
Oh yeah, of course he does.
No, well,
I so I was asked to come in on a case and spoke to this person, and this person was telling me that she had lost her fiance and she misses him. He took his own life, and she ended up going out to kind of some trees, some meadows. And she was calling upon him, and she ended up making love to him. She could feel him. He was inside. He was taking care of her, everything. And that she needed to go with him. And she goes, but as things went on, it was getting darker. So we knew something was going on. She had gone to talk to other people, and they kept saying, he's waiting for you. Not in the sense that she needed to take her life or anything, but just saying he's waiting for you. And, it just kept going on. The churches did want to get involved, but here's the thing. Because of mental illness, the churches now have to have all sorts of medical records, things like that, to make sure before we go in to do an exorcist. She would call me sometimes really angry. Other times she was crying. She was saying every song on the radio, anything like that, would constantly, it was the demons talking to her, saying how bad she was, things like that.
Wow.
This was a girl that had so much life in her. Beautiful, beautiful. Was keeping herself locked up. And I kept trying to get someone there. She would get mad at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I need this and this. She gave permission for the doctor, the psychiatric evaluation, but that doctor would never call us back. And she got a hold of me one day, and she goes, I don't know if I should still believe in Jesus. But she goes, but didn't Jesus die on the cross for all our sins and stuff? And I go, well, I believe that. What did you believe? Just kept trying to talk to her.
Yeah.
After she did that last text, she ended up taking her life because the demons brought her to it. She couldn't handle it anymore. The voices, everything. She had called me one time. I was even on FaceTime with her, trying to talk to her. And I had her parking at a store parking lot under a light. And she was going to travel hours around and everything else trying to find, because she was that desperate, and said it. But she had called something in. And you could see it, or the darkness around her, and you could see the stuff, but we couldn't get the people there. We tried prayers, and of course, here's the thing. I lost her, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Her children lost her. Her parents lost her. And I went pretty dark, down deep, because I blame myself. Could I have done something else? Could I have done this? And my hands were tied. People, some people who knew her think I don't know, but it was something that will always stick with me, because you're fighting for somebody's life. And I was trying to keep her. She was weak enough that I couldn't get enough fight out of her, and trying to work with her. And I knew by the time I got her, she was already on that path. And I was just praying that we could stop it, but we couldn't. Or I couldn't. I don't. So it was a bad case. And it still haunts me today.
What do you think happened to her soul? Do you think she crossed, or do you think she's lost? Or
I can honestly say I don't know. I can honestly say I haven't ran into her spirit. I do know that when I found out she passed, I fell to my knees, literally.
Oh God.
And I prayed so hard. I've never prayed so hard, with tears and screams to make sure that she's lifted up and taken care of because she shouldn't hurt anymore. So
That's terrible.
that's, yeah, it's there you go. I really
It's
don't talk about this a lot.
that's quite intense actually. I hope she is. I hope she's in the afterlife. I hope she's with her relatives, and I hope the angels are looking after her. I just want to, for a quick second, just bring up something that Jenny said about her mum. Her mum was reaching for the ceiling and calling her sister and dad's name. That's beautiful. That just shows you that's.
That
I
means
had to bring that
that
up there
is
because that's
beautiful because
just
the family was there to
yeah.
help take her through that journey for her next journey in the afterlife. That's absolutely beautiful.
It is. It really is. See, I've heard stories about demons and that, and I hope in my career and stuff like that, and it's paranormal that I never run into one. I know Dakota, he's experienced. Dakota, do you want to talk about it a wee bit?
I just find it funny that my signal's starting to drop right as she's telling that story.
Yeah.
The case where I've lost someone, and it was shortly after I told him to get his guard up because that thing jumped me and attacked me in my own bedroom. And mind you, I'm 6'7", close to this thing lifted me like I was nothing.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that one got bad.
Huh. The bad thing is, luckily I was able to call on some people and say, how do you deal with this? Is it going to be my last one? Probably not. But when somebody's putting their life in your hands because they have nowhere else to go, I never knew how deep that actually gets to you. The nightmares and everything after, I mean, I don't wish upon anyone, but then you start thinking of, like your doctors and stuff, the people who, hold your life in their hands. It's pretty tough.
Oh, it is. I still get nightmares from it, and it gets to the point where people are feeling like they have to check on me because they hear me start screaming out for the people I lost.
Oh.
Wow.
I sleep. It's even gotten to the point of I have my little niece laying with me in bed. I have to physically take her out of bed and put her somewhere else because I would not trust me go start swinging and accidentally knock her out. And she's barely 5 months old, so
Yeah, no. But the thing is, she's least safe, in that aspect. And a lot of people don't understand when demons start attacking, they attack towards the family first. Because when they start making like yourself or myself weak, it's easier to get to us. And so a lot of people are always saying, that's why I always say you have infestation first. It's going to the weakest person.
Yeah.
And then it's going to do your family members or people you love or people who are close to you. Because just like this lovely lady, it wasn't just her. It started with her children. She had a young son who was trying to commit suicide all the time that had to go to the hospital. Different little things were happening that started breaking her down because she was going to be the end target. But when you're talking about a mother or a father who loves their family, with everything that will go to war for them, you have to start messing with them enough to break them down to get that end, because that's how the isolation starts. And that's the only way oppression will get on you, and I did all mine, back and forth with her. And it was to the point where I'm just like, I didn't even know what to say anymore. It got to the point that everything was fumbling and stuff. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. And I'm raising my hands up and, I'm doing this by myself in my room because I don't want anybody to see how it's tearing me up because I'm watching her family get tore up. and it always will hit those families first.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
quite
not a
intense.
joke.
It's a very real thing for people that are watching this and you don't believe in demons and you mess with like stuff. I highly suggest the Ouija board and is it the spirit board? Did you hear that? Yeah, I heard like a woman scream.
That little whistle.
Did you hear that?
Was that me taking a breath, going?
No.
Okay.
No, it was like
Oh yeah,
it was
I didn't do that.
I think it was quite interesting because I was going to say, can I ask you something? See when you're walking down the road or that, do you ever notice anybody with like an attachment on them when you're just walking along?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you kind of want to go up there and say, "Hey, we need to talk," but
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have you committed. It's kind of like, just like sensitives and empaths, when they meet somebody, they could tell by their energy if they even want to continue talking to them. That's kind of like me. I can walk around, and you got to remember, a lot of people have manifested their own demons. So there's times. So when I see them like attached to them, I see them like an octopus tentacles like stuck on them, and you could just see it pulsating, like it's just sucking the life out of them. And it's disgusting. And that's why I say, talking about being a demonologist or an exorcist, the stuff is not a joke. You have to take it serious, because there's so many places that everybody thinks everything is just beautiful unicorns and fairies and all that. You've got to make sure you understand, if there's light, there's dark. There's always a balance, but right now it's been tilted, and the dark is a little bit more over than the light. And you can see that just what's happening in the world right now. So there's been a little bit of a tilt, and somehow that balance has got to come back. Your listeners are going to think I'm just damn crazy.
It's an interesting thing.
Compared to some of the other people we've had on this show.
I've always, I've heard this happen to Dakota, because I know it has happened to you, Dakota. You've been followed home. I mean, did the demons ever get like pissed off with you and think, oh, she exercised one of your chums off of somebody we were after, and I'm going home with her and I'm going to cause havoc in her house? Did they ever do that to you?
Well, I can honestly say, knock on wood, I don't have it in my house. I have made my house a fortress from the outside.
Yeah.
Because I used metals. I used asafoetida mixture around my house outside. So I've made it a fortress. This is my safe space. So nothing can come in. Luckily, not even spirits. I've had spirits come by me before in the house, but nothing to that extent. Does it mean, can it ever happen? Absolutely, it can. But my due diligence of always trying, no. I mean, but I can't say that I don't get affected by it, because I know it has changed my moods, or things come out of my mouth, or things happen to me. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not me, and I try to stay very vigilant of cleansing myself continuously. Blessing myself, the things I use, because I do have people that do help me with a lot of this stuff. And so I always have to think too, I got to make sure I'm safe for them to be safe. And I think that kind of helps me balance it, because even your priests, they will still get their butt kicked too. I mean, I've got butt kicked a lot. Dakota, are you okay?
I think he's picking something up.
Hearing stuff and getting some interference.
So I keep hearing voices every now and again.
You're welcome.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot in this show. It really does happen a lot. And the demonics out there, they're probably standing outside your gate. They're now waiting on you leaving. They're probably just waiting on you. Because you
Me?
think about it, you probably you Dakota, because I know Dakota's had that experience too. I mean, they will get to the point where they'll get to your house and they'll be like, "Damn, we can't get in there because it's a fortress, basically, right? We'll just wait and they're coming out." And because if you think about it, demons, they're kind of, I mean, there's hierarchies of demons, isn't there? I mean, there's like the lower
Absolutely.
levels and then it goes up. So, what would you say was the highest level one you've ever encountered? Like the general of them?
Well, you have your archdemons, and your
Yes.
archdemons are like your archangels, but these archdemons were never angels. And you have to make sure you remember that, because you do have
Mhm.
demons that used to be angels that were fallen.
Yeah.
But you also have straight demons that actually, were born by the devil, anew, all of them. And they're on the same
Mhm.
level as what they would call like Lilith and them.
Mm.
So there was different names given to some of them depending on what they did. But these archdemons, these are, I mean, older than time. This is not just something
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
if I know of one of those, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to try to fight it, because they're able to withstand holy water. They can sit and recite the Lord's Prayer with you
Wow.
because of the
Mhm.
strength. So you think about it, just like Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, you have those guys you have the same
Mhm.
level. Then you have your medium ones who are kind of like your soldiers, your little havoc makers, that
Mhm.
try to bring you to that wrong turn on the crossroads. Then you got your little minions. Those are the ones that, want to just wreak havoc and can't do much of nothing. So, your middle ones are the ones that will come up here and try to get people to follow the devil, give them what they
Yeah.
want so they can grab them and pull them down. That's kind of how they're put, but you got to remember, these are demons that were demons and never an angel. And the ones that used to be angels are actually even more powerful because of that angelic form they
Yeah.
had to begin with.
What? There's some weird
Okay, I don't
voices
know what's
coming
going
through.
on with Dakota, but as Dakota is
Mhm.
going, I'm seeing this black thing come around him, and I'm like starting to sweat. Do you see my armpits? Look, it's like going, hey, hot
There's
in
something
here.
about. There's something
No,
about.
yeah,
I can
I'm
sense it.
literally was listening to what sounded like a male voice, just kind of commenting on everything you're saying. Like, yep, she's right, she's good, she knows what she's talking about, type of stuff. Now I'm just like, wait, I don't know that one. That's a new one.
I mean, see the angelics. See the angelics, like the angels, for instance, like Archangel Michael and Gabriel and all the other ones. I mean, Raphael and stuff like that. Do you ever see them? What did they actually look like to you? What did they look like?
So I've never actually seen the face of the angels,
Mhm.
but I have felt their wings. I know that sounds really
Right.
crazy, but it's almost like I can hear a flutter, the flutter kind of thing,
Yeah.
but it kind of gives a wave. I can feel it like waving in. And there is an actual, different prayers you can do to bring them down.
Yeah.
And when we're just looking up in the sky going, I call on you, Michael, to come down. Michael's not just going to jump down and say, okay, what's up? That has to be that intention. I need the army here. Michael
Yeah.
doesn't do it on his own. And if you're really looking for someone that has some power that can actually get through a demon, you're going to call on Metatron.
Mhm.
And the reason you
Yeah.
would call on
Heard that.
Metatron is you got to remember, human, prophet, knew what he was writing of God's words, and that's how he became an archangel. So now he knows how to really get in there. So, each angel has wisdom and you've got, of course, your soldier and things like that. The same type of thing, just like the Bible stated, God had told the devil, you can play with all these humans. You can throw them around like rag dolls. You can torment them all you want. but you can never have their soul unless they are giving it to you. And that's where all these torments go.
It's just something popped into my head, and I don't know where it's came from. But see how you say like humans obviously became prophets and became an archangel. Can it work the other way? Because somebody's so evil that, let's just say, like one of the Nazis for Auschwitz, right? Say they enjoyed doing their job, right? And even in death, they enjoyed hurting people, right? Could they become demon? Could they become like get a job for Satan kind of thing?
Yeah. There are a thing of like pulling people to hell. And you got to remember, so like as I look at heaven and hell, I don't think it's just one vast open area where we're all just hanging out, eating cherries off the cherry trees. Heaven and hell are what we have them. My heaven will be different than your heaven, or my hell would be different than Dakota's hell. Does that make sense? But also, if you do the bidding for the devil, if you say, I am one of your soldiers, then you would become demon with them as the little minions, not just a soul that's trapped in hell. So there's two sides of that.
Yeah. See, I have heard that whatever you believe in when you die, whatever you want to see, that's what you get to see. Like, let's take what's that film with Robbie Williams? Was it When Dreams Come True? He was an artist and he liked beautiful scenery and stuff like that, right? So I'm the kind of same. I want to see mountains and stuff, so that's what I'll see. Whereas your hell, what your worst fear is, that's what you'll go if you go to hell.
That's basically right. Like I said, everybody's going to have their difference of heaven and hells of whatever it is. It's just going to be an abyss of an open area of what is yours? What is yours? What is your heaven?
Yeah.
What is your hell? Or are you going to be stuck now? I believe we're in purgatory right now. I think this is everybody's purgatory. I don't believe that we're going to be stuck in one. I believe we're in it now, and these are the decisions we make. And that's why I think people with abilities, we're supposed to open up, because we are supposed to build an army to go the right way, not the wrong way. Aleister Crowley did all that. Aleister Crowley did the bidding for the devil. He was the one that actually wanted to work with the Nazis to open that encampment of bringing people and doing that type of stuff. So he was writing the words and the bidding for the devil. So Aleister Crowley, I would say, would be that demon. And I think because of that, if you watch like that show Supernatural, there was called Aleister Crowley, because he did the bidding for the devil, as Metatron actually did the prophet for the heavens.
Dakota. Dakota's been into a lot of dark stuff. Dakota's done a lot of like working with certain entities out there. You know who I'm talking about, Dakota. If you want to mention them, you can. I'm looking at them.
Dude, I'm already feeling like something's trying to get up my neck. But so
I mean, look, there's a lot of dark things out there, right? I mean, there's a lot of these entities out there, like, I'm just going to say it, like the Heartman, for instance, right? That people believe in and stuff like that. I've had a few weird experiences with that situation, really weird experiences. But I do believe, as I say at the start of the show, we're here, everything's planned. And I do believe that, see how everything's planned? I do believe that coming in to encounter like demonics and stuff like that was planned. It was planned. And I do believe what you say, Michelle. I think it's everything's just planned in a kind of big way. And and I do think we're here to help people. Like, see, like you, Michelle, you're here to help people. So is Dakota. People with like gifts, like mediumship, or they can do stuff in the paranormal. I feel that you're here to help people and try and make the world a better place.
And I believe that too, and sometimes I also believe, they think that, again, a lot of it being man written, and that's not like, it's just a statement that
Yeah,
I don't, yes, I go with the priest or I talk to the priest, "Hey, Michelle, can you see, is there something dark here, this and that?" And that's
yeah,
how I kinda help. But at the same time, do the deliverance rites and stuff? I could. And I believe if
yeah,
your intentions are right, you could do it, but I let the church do that piece. I let those exorcists do
yeah.
that piece, and I'm there to guide or be with them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, it's really important that people understand I'm not out there just running around like the Pope's exorcist on a little moped, you know?
Yeah.
Unless, yeah,
He likes
just
his whiskey tea. He likes.
yeah, but there are people like myself, like Dakota, and there's many more, like, the
Yeah.
wonderful John Zaffis. We were
Yes.
brought to do this kind of work, but not brought to do it by ourselves. We're just a little piece to help continue guiding of, okay, they can see the darkness. They can feel what this darkness is. They know this wasn't human spirit. This is something else. Now we know which way to go. And that's what, people have to understand. We are kind of that beacon. We are that torch helping, just like Akate. She has a torch to be able to go down to the underworld.
Yes.
That's us.
Mm-hmm.
Do
I
we
mean,
like it?
I
Maybe not
mean,
so much, but
I mean, if you suppose in this day and age, demonic attachments and stuff must be worse than it was, I would say, pre-60s, before 60s, because then you had a lot of people going to the church. They didn't have technology, they didn't have Facebook, you didn't have all this kind of stuff, and a lot of people went every Sunday, and everybody went to the church, and a lot of people were more religious then. I will say that a lot of people, the younger people, were more religious then. But now I think there's more demonic attachments, and because people are leaving the church and using technology.
well, and that's the
And
thing. I don't think it's just church, because church, you gotta
yeah,
remember, is words.
yes,
And it's
it's words. You can
how do you
worship God
think
anywhere you want.
those?
Mhm,
But like you said, back in the 50s, 60s, without all this
mhm.
stuff, we were also raised, even if you didn't go to church, there
Raised.
was always respect.
Yes.
You
Mhm.
always cared for somebody else. We always helped people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You've seen elderly, you would actually respect them. You wouldn't go up and try to beat them up and steal their,
Yes.
yes, you did have your bad people back then too. It just wasn't
Yeah.
all over the internet. But
Yeah.
kids were a little different. Now, kids are being babysat by iPads. And whatever is going through, think of all
Yeah.
those messages going in their brains,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we're forming something without realizing what we're doing before, and then it's gonna get too late.
Well, you just need to jump onto, like, computer games. I mean, yes, some of them are designed for, like, 18-year-olds,
Yeah,
but somehow there's 9-year-olds and 8-year-olds get to play them. And
absolutely.
that's
Mm-hmm.
extreme violence, like war, for instance, people getting parts blown off them and stuff like that. They think this is great. They think this is absolutely brilliant. And then they maybe let a wee bit of their cell go, and years goes past, they might get an attachment because they start getting into this kind of. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was walking through my graveyard on a beautiful summer's day, and there was kids with a Ouija board on top of one of the tombs, and I was like, "You shouldn't do stuff like that, guys. Honestly, I'll be fine." And I just kept going. I mean, that's how people get attachment. They might not notice it now, but maybe later on, maybe when they're maybe 30, 40 years old, and they
Yeah,
start, like, using drugs and going down a bad path, maybe alcoholism, it's maybe because something's attached itself to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the one thing we all have to do, it's harder and harder seeing people take responsibility for themselves. We will find every excuse to blame everything and anything around us instead of looking in the mirror at ourselves going, "You know what?
Yeah.
You did this. Let's change it." Or even looking in the mirror and saying, "You know what? You're good enough. You've got this. Who cares what people
Yes.
think?" But we are so triggered now that, does everybody like you? What do people think of you? What are they saying
Yeah.
about you? And we end up
Mhm.
losing ourselves. When we lose ourselves, that's when you got that weak spot for something to attach to you. And
Yeah.
then with all the extras that you have, you're feeding it, and now you're creating your own demon. And those are harder
Yeah.
to get rid of because it's yours. And so trying to help people after that trauma of an exorcism, you're trying to bring them
Yeah.
back to say, you know what? This could have been why this happened, but I'm not doing that. I love myself. I love this. I can do
Yes.
this. And I am worth everything. That is
Yes.
hard for people to do and look in the mirror and really say they love themselves because not everybody can do it
Yes.
at all.
Mhm.
You're right.
Very
100%.
true. Very
So we've
true.
got 4 minutes left of the show. Dakota, would you like to ask anything before the end?
Oh, so many questions, so little time.
I know. We need to get you back again for a longer show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, kind of going back to Metatron, there's a lot of specifics that goes into this specific case, but there's this couple. They both seem to possess some sort of psychic ability. When in reference to each other, they hear something trying to communicate with them about their significant other, but for some reason, the name Enoch always manages to come up. Do you know any ideas on what that could be?
I think
Shorten
so.
it, right?
No. So it's just because you kind of broke up a little bit. So you got a couple
Well,
that both have abilities, and something tries to communicate to them about the other one, but it's always something about
Mhm.
the Book of Enoch. Is that
mhm.
correct?
Something about the name Enoch always seems to comes up.
Well, that's crazy because the first thing popped in my head is the Book of Enoch, which was supposedly the first Bible, where Lilith was there, not Eve. So that could be something they might want to just tread lightly on, but kind of take notes. So whatever they're hearing, like journal it just to kind of see. Because again, the Book of Enoch was the first Bible.
Yeah.
And it had a different version of how things went. And then, of course, if you look at the Book of Enoch and you look at the Bible, they kind of took some of it out and mixed it together, if you listen to it. So Lilith got completely written out and they put Eve because
Mhm.
Lilith wasn't obedient. She wanted to be Adam. So now the Book of Enoch is looked upon more of a darker side of the book per se, but not all of it's dark. But because it's driven mainly on stories of Lilith, I'd kind of be careful with that. Just trying to say.
Mm.
But if you
I,
look at all of them, yeah, because you look at the Quran, you look at Book of Enoch, you look at the Bible, and you kind of compare all of them together, you can see there's a lot of stuff that kind of matches up. You can also look at, paganism, how they've grabbed some of the stuff, the Catholics took it so they could bring those people in. So the Bible itself is like a mishmash of a big soup. And they just
Oh
put it
yeah.
in places to say, how can we put it in places so it makes sense? Am I saying some of those words aren't from Jesus, God, or anybody? No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is from when they all were around to where we're at now, that book has been in publication a couple of times. Just so
Yeah.
always read and take what comes here because you know what's going to be real for you.
It's a very interesting read, let me put it that way, because I've got a copy of it. Because the reason you said that, because I can see it in my bookshelf over there when I go like that.
Yeah. So if you look at the Book of Enoch in the Old Testament, go with those two, and then look at the New Testament. Woo!
Yeah.
It's pretty spicy.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm going to put it that way. It's interesting. It really is.
It is.
So, Michelle, where can people find you? This is your plugging moment. Where can we all find you?
They could actually follow me on Facebook. I put
Right.
everything out there. This way, if I do any tours or anything like that, they would see it. So if you just look me up, you can follow me. It's Michelle Roos. And I kind of keep everything right there so people can just go and, check me out. So
there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Check Michelle Roos out and click on that link. You'll be getting loads of friend requests tonight.
bing, 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 bing. But that's okay.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'll need to get you back again. We'll need to get you back again for a longer show because I think there's a lot of subjects that we could talk about. And Dakota, I know, has got a lot of questions for you.
Absolutely. I would love that. I would love that.
I'd just like to say from myself, thank you very much for coming on. And I would like to say thank you to Jenny Tay for introducing me to you. So thank you very much, Jenny. Dakota, would you? My good man.
No, just say thank you for coming on. This was definitely an interesting show, but I do know you need to be getting out of here soon.
Yeah.
So we'll just go ahead and sign off for tonight. Much love.
Catch you all,
Take
everybody.
care.
See everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.